There she is. The White Witch. Prisoner in ice.
Not even
I wonder
a
what
crack.
sorcery, or worse, sorcery, we'll have to use to get her out.
I don't know how long she'll last within that ice. There must be a way.
This is your White Witch, then? And you're sure you want to free her, are you? Even our mad Boreas wouldn't have wasted such precious ice on a petty criminal. Whatever she did to find herself here must have been rather severe indeed. But I am in your debt, and I would be remiss not to honor your request. Shield your eye, Source Hunter. To melt ice of this refinement, I'll need to summon an equally rare flame.
Gods, it's colder than a witch's teat. How very callous of Leandra to entire her only sister in a barren tundra for eternity.
Ikara, you're all right? The ice, King Boreas, and your sister. What a frigid hell you've endured.
And yet not even a frigid hell like this could induce you to put on a shirt, could it, Ahu? My old friend, surely I have you to thank for my salvation.
That honor goes to a pair of talented source hunters, actually. If not for their efforts, I'd be quite uselessly prowling around your prison still.
Then perhaps I ought to address my savior directly. Source Hunter, is that the masquerade? Well, what a motley crew we are. Isn't there somewhere a bit warmer we might discuss matters? Ah, yes, of course, of course. Do pardon me. I didn't mean to imply you were very clearly eternal beings in the guise of minor mortals. Not at all. Please, let's do carry on. Oh, yes, I suppose I am. But I do prefer my given name. Ikara, that is. Charmed. But I hope I haven't disappointed my own hero. Am I just as white and witchy as you'd hoped? First things first, Source Hunter. For my freedom, I owe you every imaginable thanks. My soul had withered in this prison, and I might not have survived much longer without your help. Now, about the culprits. My corrupted sister and the mad Winter King. When I realized exactly where, and to whom Leandra was consigning me, I was certain I'd never enjoy the sun's warmth again. But neither she nor I anticipated the Source Hunter. That was her mistake, and my blessing. I never would have imagined Leandra capable of dealing with the likes of Boreas, but she has changed into someone I hardly recognize anymore. I take no pleasure in the memory of that night. The thought of hurting anyone or anything is abhorrent to me. But in this case, I judged it necessary. If you've come this far, I trust you've learned that the Counselor was far from a humble civil servant. This doesn't excuse my behavior, but perhaps it can help to explain it. It's a sordid story, to be perfectly frank. Two sisters, a philanderous, treacherous wizard, death and mayhem. Are you sure you're interested in such things? The sparkle in your eye belies your better nature, Source Hunter. Now I know that it is your duty to get to the heart of this. And, in truth, the events of that night were but one part of a larger and much darker matter. A matter in which I'll dare to beg your assistance before we're through with one another. Now that terrible night. One night, as I slept, I had a sudden revelation. No dream, but a vision. My sister Leandra and my lover Zandalor. I didn't understand, but I recognized their location. Syceel's King Crab Inn. I arrived and looked through their window, but inside, everything was wrong. Leandra had fled, and Councillor Jake stood over the wizard, a knife in his hand and hate in his eyes. As I watched, he drove the dagger deep into Zandalor's heart, and I was too late to stop him. In that moment, I broke. I saw before me not a man, not even a beast, but evil incarnate. And I used Source to slay him. On the floor lay Zandalor. In my hands, I held Jake's life force. I had sworn never to use Source, but I couldn't walk away. And so I did the unthinkable. I used the Councillor's life to save Zandalor's. He was alive, but only just. Betrayal. Murder. Source. We were all of us guilty now. If you were any other Source Hunter, I suppose you'd strike me down where I stand after that terrible admission. Fortunately for us both, you are no other Source Hunter. My own little sister, if you can imagine it. She was always the more ambitious, the more exacting of us, and she had no fear of the darkness that so often accompanies Source. Her collusion with King Boreas in imprisoning me here confirms my worst fears. She is planning something far greater than I could have anticipated. For this reason, and with a heavy heart, I must ask you, Source Hunter, to find out how far exactly Leandra has become entwined in the dark arts. I hate to extend my own invitation, Source Hunter, but I believe I ought to accompany you to Zigzax's hideout. Presumptuous, yes, but I'd recognize the imp's essence just about anywhere. Both he and you must learn more about the darkness that has extended itself into our dearest Rivellon. And I believe I know where we must begin. Ah, but unless that's a bear flailing through the threads of time, I do believe Master Zigzax is on his way. Make way, Source Hunter, landing in 3, 2...
Hunters, you've done it! Ikara is free! Ah, what good it does my impish heart to see her safe and bright as ever! We have much to discuss. Come one and all to the end of time. A spot of something warm with the soft glow of the tapestry ought to do us all a bit of good, hmm? There you are, Ikara. Now, if we're done playing hide-and-seek, let's not waste a jot more time. Oh, I just can't wait to pick your every synapse.
After you, Master Zigzax.
We've solved the murder and caught the culprit, yet this case feels anything but closed.
There's more to this crime than simple fact. Killing a killer is hardly the same as killing an innocent, after all.
We'll have to learn more before we can assess Ikara's true guilt in this matter. Fortunately, she seems quite eager to tell us more about this entire dark affair.
did you find high behind this time of year, dear Kara?
Cold, Master Imp. Very, very cold. Why, I see Master Zigzax has upgraded from his shabby little hut at the edge of the hour, from the fairy dimension to the, space-time Weaver Hunter Imp one. What do you call this place again? Ha! Is that so? It seems I have my share to learn about the magical world yet. The end of time. Well, suddenly your association with Master Zigzax makes sense. Well, I must say, it's no small relief to find myself in a safe haven among such allies. I believe the answer to that begins centuries ago, when your order was still cutting down so-called dark magicians by the dozens. Ours was a family of born sorcerers, you see. It was in our blood to interact with Source, but our parents were determined to curb the power within us. Still, their meekness wouldn't save them from the Source Hunters.
Straight to the void? I think I could
I
fly
am.
straight to the...
But there is more to our kind than they teach at your academy. Source isn't only blood and madness. It's like lightning, an exquisite current of great power. We sorcerers are like metal steeples. Source is drawn to us and it flows through us. But what so many fail to understand is that Source can be controlled. The power drunk through history have abused it, and all the world's sorcerers have borne terrible consequences. Tell me, Source Hunter, in all your hours studying the arcane arts, did your great masters ever suggest that perhaps not all sorcerers were evil? Did you ever hear, even once, that some of us were weak and gentle? That we could be simple forest folk healing the sick and frozen each winter? No. I doubt also that they'd mention that one day this hunt of yours would birth a broken soul powerful enough to inch all of Rivellon toward oblivion. No, that would be going too far and eschewing my own responsibility. I believe Leandra's long fall down did begin at the hands of some of your own order, but it was I who sparked all of this. They came on a quiet morning. My mother was wild with fright and commanded me to hide myself and Leandra outside, among the trees. Even at that young age, we knew not to question her. We climbed high into the branches of a nearby tree, and before we could look away, our parents were cut down without ceremony before our door. The Source Hunters sauntered away, wiping their blades with pride. 2 more sorcerers dead, a job well done.
Human to vampire.
From that moment on, everything was different. As we trembled in that tree, our fear and our desperation were so potent that the magic within us began to weave together. Our souls became forged together, our bond unbreakable. We would survive, thrive even, within those woods, never speaking to outsiders. Our soul forge meant that if one of us were to die, the other would instantly perish too. We kept one another close. Leandra's capacity was enormous. Source didn't frighten her, and she delved into that dark well with terrible regularity. I did my best to guide her, but she fast outgrew my admonitions. My sister and I were mired in a solitary existence, witches among the trees when Zandalore came. Leandra especially couldn't leave him be. He was a feast of information, and she wouldn't rest until she'd absorbed every bit of knowledge he offered. Their days were spent on charms, hexes, and the like. At night, Leandra would wander off to practice what she'd learned, and Zandalore and I would settle into our quiet tasks, side by side. We were a content trio, the 3 of us, but base impulse would undo us. As you know, Leandra and I were soul-forged. This offered us a window into one another's souls. I knew Leandra had developed feelings for Zandalor, and she knew I had too. But it was me to whom he confessed his love. Those quiet evenings together had captured his heart, as they had mine. Her heart broke the moment we announced our new attachment, and I felt the pain of it as sharply as a knife. She fled, without a word, and I didn't see her for 2 terrible years. My connection to her, our soul forge, grew weaker. It was as though some third entity, a parasite, were atop our souls, sucking the strength from it day by day. I believe that our soul forge has been damaged. By what? I can only guess. The fraying of the bond between us has left Leandra adrift in a well of sorrow she truly believes will never end. What she needs is a hand, my hand, out of this abyss. If our soul forge is repaired, I am certain she'll cease blazing this path of destruction. We've a single order of business first and foremost. Leandra is gathering an army, and I fear we'll have to get through it if we wish to find her. But first, we must learn more about Leandra's plans. How many of these so-called Immaculates does she have in her palm, and to what end is she directing them? Your journey must begin in the Lacula mines, where she has been accumulating materials and manpower for a purpose as yet unknown. The way will be dangerous. Her allies are growing more powerful and numerous by the minute, but we must discover exactly what Leandra is planning and why. A soul forge comes with its own benefits, Source Hunter. Though our connection has weakened, I still see the occasional vision of Leandra's doings, the pangs of her deepest felt emotions, and flashes of her triumphs. One vision. I had thought it was only a nightmare, but now I see it was something much worse. Leandra is collecting materials, precisely what, I cannot say, and is hard at work shaping them into something sinister. Her frustrations are rivaled only by her mirth. I can see she's growing closer and closer to achieving something dire. You must make your way deep into the mines to see exactly what she's planning. I cannot condone the terrible things she's done, but I can seek to understand them. With our soul forge in such tatters, I believe Leandra is adrift in the not at all inconsiderable sorrows of our lives. What's more, I sense a terrible force bearing down upon the bond between us. It is hungry, and it consumes ever more of Leandra's mind and soul. I cannot say exactly what this force might be, but I'm certain it's both driving me out and driving Leandra on. If I could only repair the forge, I'm certain she'd put a stop to this madness. The way may be treacherous, but you must get inside. I fear my sister is doing something dreadful so far from the light of day.
Tell me, O Weaver, if you know all that is past and present, does that mean you know the future as well?
Alas, no.
Aye, aye, Captain.
I can predict with a degree of certainty, but I cannot speak of what is to come unequivocally. Time and I...
Source Hunter, welcome, welcome. Yes, that was a small fib on my part, I'm afraid. Zandalor is known as the Keeper of the Source, after all. And I didn't know how Source Hunters would react to my association with such a colorful character.
There are quite a number of imps here, my most honored guest.
You see my magic box? It's got all empathy year. Every year.
Leandra. She desires to be Mother of the Void, but you have the power to undo her born-in-blood litter. Though they be baptized in blood, you can cleanse the Starstones still, and use them to thwart their grim queen. Ask, and I shall answer, if I can.
I'd welcome you back to your homestead, but it seems the Imparium on the Imp plane at the end of Imp is far more appropriate. Of all the wicked things, the one substance that can stand in the way of the void, and she's turning it into vessels of blight. You'll have to redouble your efforts, my friend. You'll have to find more Starstones before she does and forestall her insidious distortions.
Say, have you seen my magic box? It's got all kinds of wonders stashed inside.
A question has me stumped, milady. Why are there two...
There are quite a number.
Think I could fly straight
I
to the
wonder
void?
how much of a spark
I
it
think I could
takes
fly
to zap a
straight to the
human
void.
to vapor.
All the way up.
Aye, aye, Captain.
I wonder, do you know more about the void? What it is? What lies at the heart of it?
What lies at its heart? There are quite a number of imps here, my most honored guest. Threads I weave and tales I see. All will I tell. Moloch, I know of him. He has a kind soul, in as far as kindness has least to dwell within the confines of a demon's body. He is kind in that he is honest. For that which you give, you will receive something in return with no strings attached. No unpleasant threads for me to weave. Not always was he so, no. He was true to his vicious nature. But during the Great War on Chaos, he, supposedly immortal, found himself on his back, with your sword halfway down his throat. You saw the fear in his eyes, the incomprehensibility of death and defeat. And so you took pity on him. He hasn't forgotten your kindness and became somewhat kind in return. A demon redeemed.
In here, isn't it? Are we near a event? Doom! Has a nice...
There are quite a number of imps here. My threads I weave and tales I see.
So this tapestry represents all of time. One wouldn't think time itself would include so many threads dangling temptingly where any claw could reach it.
Look
I
alive,
wonder how
Madam
much of
Weaver.
a spark
Our
it
friend
takes to
Andrew
zap a
is no
human
better
to
to void when
vapor.
his instincts overcome him.
Clawing at time and void. He wouldn't, would he?
The world is not immaculate as yet, friend. Be wary. Be vigilant.
Beware of the lost ones out there, Wanderer. Their blood is impure.
It's me! It's me! I'm the troll! I'll save you, Little Red Riding Hood!
The troll swung the wolf by its tail and catapulted it right out of the window. And so, Little Red Riding Hood and her granny were saved by a brave troll called Fumble.
Hooray! Tell it again. Oh, please, Ruby.
And yet here we are. We only have ourselves for company, but he gets to stare in Ruby's eyes all the livelong day.
Her eyes, and lots besides. Lucky son of a troll, that one. How did he ever manage it?
Perhaps he enchanted her. Perhaps she sees him as a handsome prince or something. Crafty devil, that Fumble.
And so she asked, Granny, what do you have such large and hairy ears? To which Granny replied, Why, so that I can hear you